When a man attempted to intimidate a woman at the gym, he had no inkling that she was a former Navy SEAL. What happened next left everyone in the room utterly speechless. The Midtown Fitness Center in Phoenix was, as usual, bustling with the after-work crowd. The clanging of machines, the squeak of sneakers on the rubberized floor, and the faint, steady thump of music set a lively backdrop for an ordinary evening. Among the patrons was Kendra Kettle, A34, a 34-year-old black woman whose presence radiated confidence and focus. Every aspect of her workout, from deadlifts and burpees to pull-ups, was executed with precision. She rarely engaged in small talk, never lingered, and consciously avoided drawing attention to herself. That day, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Kendra was dressed in her habitual gym attire, simple black leggings paired with a snug tank top, and had her earbuds in as a silent signal that she was there solely to work out. As she adjusted the weights on the squat rack, a man approached her. His presence was as uninvited and disruptive as a dark storm cloud on an otherwise clear day. In his mid-40s, broad-shouldered and obviously a regular at the gym, he exuded an air of self-importance. However, there was something amiss about him. The moment he noticed Kendra, a self-satisfied smirk crept onto his face, compelling her to straighten her posture instinctively. "You're using that wrong," he said, his voice carrying a condescending edge. Kendra raised an eyebrow, briefly pulling out one earbud. "Excuse me?" she replied evenly, focusing on the weights. Unperturbed, the man continued, now gesticulating wildly. "You're not setting them upright. You could hurt yourself." Kendra offered a small, polite smile. "Thanks, but I've got it." Yet he did not retreat. Instead, he crossed his arms and planted himself firmly beside her, as if staking a territorial claim on the equipment. "I've been coming here for years," he added, his tone self-assured. "Let me show you the proper form." "No need," Kendra said firmly. She replaced her earbud and turned her attention back to her barbell. At that moment, the man's smirk faded and was replaced by a scowl. He muttered something under his breath, words Kendra did not catch but which she could sense in the charged air. A few nearby gym-goers glanced over, their eyes registering a mix of curiosity and caution, yet no one intervened. In moments like these, bystanders often convince themselves that the matter is none of their business. Kendra resumed her workout, her movements fluid and controlled, even as the man lingered nearby, watching her with a blend of irritation and disbelief. Each time she switched exercises, he found a new reason to hover, muttering critiques that she chose to ignore. Then, it happened. Kendra moved over to the bench press to adjust the weights when the man raised his voice, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Women like you think they know everything, huh?" he sneered. She froze mid-movement. Slowly she turned toward him, her expression calm but her eyes blazing with an intensity that spoke volumes. "What exactly is that supposed to mean?" she asked, her tone even as the room seemed to fall into a hush. In that moment, the usual clatter of weights and the gentle hum of conversation appeared to dim, as if the very atmosphere had grown charged with an unspoken challenge. A few heads turned, their expressions curious yet hesitant to get involved. The man, clearly emboldened by the attention, merely shrugged and continued. "I'm just saying, you should stick to what you're good at," he insisted. Kendra did not take the bait. Instead, she gave him a long, measured look before calmly returning to her workout. But the air had shifted, an invisible line had been drawn, and it was only a matter of time before someone crossed it. The man was not finished. His sour, bitter words continued to hang in the air, intensifying the room's unease. Kendra could feel his gaze weighing on her, almost like an additional burden. She completed her set without further incident, choosing to ignore the simmering tension, and moved deliberately to the water fountain. The fountain was only a few steps away, yet it offered her a brief moment to assess the situation. In her experience, she had encountered men like him before, arrogant, insecure, and desperate for control in any environment they entered. Kendra was not easily intimidated. Years of disciplined training had honed her ability to remain calm under pressure, though that did not mean she was oblivious to the rising heat of the moment. As she reached for her water bottle, the man followed her. He leaned against the wall with his arms crossed, his jaw set in a tight line of indignation. "Hey," he barked, "I'm talking to you." Kendra paused, her grip tightening on the bottle. Instead of turning to him, she took a deliberate sip, then replaced the cap with measured care. Every movement was calculated. The entire room seemed to hold its breath in anticipation, yet she was careful not to escalate the situation further. "Look," he continued, his tone dripping with condescension, "you don't have to act all tough if you're struggling. Just say so. I can help." Now fully facing him, Kendra responded in a voice that was both measured and cool. "Struggling? The only thing I'm struggling with is your inability to leave me alone." A few gym-goers, sensing the shift in her tone, stopped their workouts to watch, their faces laden with unspoken questions. Would he back off? Or would she let his harassment slide? The man laughed, a sharp, humorless sound, and snapped, "You think you're better than me? What makes you so special?" Kendra's eyes narrowed, but her voice remained steady. "Nothing makes me special," she replied. "But I know how to handle myself, do you?" This remark struck a nerve. His face darkened as he stepped even closer, his voice dropping into a low, threatening tone. "You better watch your mouth." The tension in the room was palpable. No one could pretend not to notice. Even a young man on a treadmill hesitated, glancing between Kendra and the man, seemingly weighing whether to intervene. Kendra caught his eye and offered the slightest shake of her head. She did not need anyone's help, at least not yet. But the man's anger was not merely anger, it was unraveling. Everyone in the room could feel that the situation teetered on the edge of something dangerous. His anger began to boil over, his fists clenched at his sides as he took another step forward, encroaching on Kendra's personal space. Yet she did not flinch. Instead, she straightened her posture, locking her eyes on his with a calm, unwavering intensity. It was not a display of defiance, but rather a demonstration of precise control, a silent message that she was not afraid. "You've got a smart mouth, don't you?" he spat, his voice echoing off the gym walls, setting the entire space on edge. Behind the counter, a few gym employees exchanged whispered glances, uncertain if they should step in. Others remained frozen, caught in an awkward paralysis, wishing to help but unsure how to intervene. Kendra inhaled slowly, exhaling in a controlled manner. "You need to calm down," she said firmly. Her voice carried no trace of anger, only authority. It was not a suggestion, it was a command. Yet rather than diffusing the situation, her words seemed only to further enrage him. In an instant, he reached out and roughly grabbed her arm. Gasps rippled through the gym as people reacted in alarm. For a moment, Kendra's body remained eerily still, as if she were calculating her next move with clinical precision. "What are you going to do about it?" he sneered, his grip tightening. And that was when everything changed. With lightning speed, Kendra moved. Her free hand shot up, seizing his wrist in an ironclad grip. In one swift, fluid motion, she twisted his arm, forcing him to release her. The sudden reversal of power left him visibly stunned, his face contorted with shock and pain as she stepped back, ensuring that she was well out of his reach, yet firmly in control. "Let me make one thing perfectly clear," she said, her voice steady and sharp, slicing through the stunned silence that had descended over the gym. "You do not ever put your hands on me." The man staggered back, clutching his wrist as his bravado crumbled before everyone's eyes. Instead of retreating, however, he let out a frustrated roar and lunged at her. This time, Kendra did not hold back. With effortless grace, she sidestepped his clumsy attack, using his momentum against him. In one seamless move, she swept his legs out from under him, sending him crashing to the mat with a resounding thud. Chaos erupted in the gym. Shouts filled the air. Some people scrambled to get out of harm's way, while a few reached for their phones to record the unfolding drama. The man groaned, dazed and humiliated, as Kendra stood over him, her stance solid and unwavering. "You really don't know when to quit," she said in a low voice meant only for him. For a brief moment he seemed to consider another attack, but the look in her eyes halted him completely. She was not merely confident, she was a trained, dangerous force. The realization came too late for him, and the fear in his eyes said everything. Yet the damage had been done. The entire gym had witnessed not only his aggression, but also his humiliating defeat at the hands of someone he had so gravely underestimated. Now, as whispers began to ripple through the space and the clatter of recording phones filled the room, Kendra remained calm and composed. Standing tall, her breathing even, she scanned the room. Her body language was calm yet commanding, as though daring anyone else to step out of line. The man, still sprawled on the mat, scrambled to his feet. His face was a tumult of anger, shame and confusion as he shouted, "You're crazy!" while pointing at her like a cornered animal. "You think you can just—" Kendra cut him off, her tone slicing through his words like a sharpened knife. "You've embarrassed yourself enough for one day. Now leave." At that moment, a gym employee, a young woman with wide eyes and trembling hands, stepped forward. "Sir," she said in a shaky voice, "you need to go, now." For a brief second it looked as though he might resist, but the weight of the stares from everyone in the gym, some angry, some disgusted, seemed to force him to relent. His shoulders slumped as he backed away, muttering something unintelligible under his breath. Finally, he grabbed his bag from a nearby bench, stormed toward the exit and shoved the glass door open with such force that it rattled. As the door closed behind him, the room collectively exhaled. A slow, tentative round of applause broke out, first from one person, then another, until a small but meaningful wave of approval rippled through the crowd. Raising her hand to signal for silence, Kendra spoke simply, "It's over." Gradually the crowd began to disperse. Some returned to their workouts while others continued whispering or stealing glances in her direction. A young man, still holding his phone, cautiously approached her. "That was incredible," he said, his voice full of awe. "Are you some kind of martial artist or something?" Kendra gave him a small smile, though her eyes remained serious. "Something like that," she replied, offering no further explanation. Before anyone could ask more, another gym-goer, a middle-aged woman, stepped forward. "Are you okay?" "That was terrifying to watch," she said gently. "I'm fine," Kendra replied, her tone calm yet firm. "Thank you for asking." At that moment, the young woman who worked at the counter reappeared, her hands wringing nervously. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have stepped in sooner. I just didn't know what to do." Kendra interrupted her softly, her expression kindling. "Not everyone knows how to handle these situations," she said. The employee nodded, still looking uneasy. "We should call the police, though," she murmured. "He might come back." For a moment, Kendra considered this. "No need," she finally said, her voice filled with unwavering certainty. "He's not coming back. Trust me." Her confidence left no room for doubt. With that, Kendra turned and headed toward the locker room to grab her belongings. As she walked away, the murmurs continued, and the weight of the recent events lingered in the air. Everyone present was left to grapple with their own thoughts about the incident. Inside the locker room, Kendra's steps were measured and purposeful as she reached for her gym bag. Catching her reflection in the mirror, she saw a calm, composed face looking back. There was no hint of triumph or gloating. This was not about proving something to anyone. It was about making a statement. Respect is not optional. In silence, she packed her things, letting the adrenaline gradually subside. As she zipped up her bag, the young woman from the front desk timidly entered. Her name tag read Tara, and she lingered near the doorway, fidgeting with the hem of her shirt. "Can I ask you something?" Tara finally said. Kendra turned her steady, kind gaze toward Tara. "Sure," she replied. After a moment's hesitation, Tara blurted out, "How did you stay so calm? I mean, he was so aggressive, and you handled it like—" Kendra leaned casually against a bench, folding her arms. "It's not about staying calm," she explained. "It's about knowing that you can handle yourself. Fear loses its grip when you're prepared." Tara tilted her head, her eyes wide with curiosity. "So, you're trained like in the military or something?" Kendra gave a small nod. "I served as a Navy SEAL for over a decade," she said simply. "I've faced far worse situations than what happened out there." Tara's eyes widened even more. "Wow, that explains a lot." But Kendra wasn't finished. "It's not just about training," she added, her tone taking on a more serious timbre. "It's about understanding when to act and when to let things go. Men like him, they're not only angry, but they're deeply insecure. They look for easy targets. When you show them that you are not one, they simply do not know what to do." Tara nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of Kendra's words. "I wish I could be that brave," she admitted softly. "You can," Kendra replied simply. Bravery isn't about not being scared, it's about standing firm when it truly matters. As Tara absorbed this advice, the locker room door creaked open once more, and the middle-aged woman who had checked on Kendra earlier peeked inside. "Sorry to interrupt," she said quietly, "but I just wanted to say thank you. You handled that with so much grace. It made me realize how often I let people walk all over me." Kendra offered a faint smile. "Standing up for yourself isn't always easy," she replied, "but it's necessary, not just for you, but for everyone who's watching." The woman nodded thoughtfully. "You're right. I think I needed to see that." With that, Kendra slung her bag over her shoulder and stepped out of the locker room into the cool evening air. As she walked, she felt a quiet resolve settling in her heart. She had not planned for any of this to happen, but perhaps it was meant to be. Perhaps someone in that gym needed to witness what true strength looked like. Not merely the strength of physical power, but the strength of composure, resilience, and the refusal to let ignorance prevail. Even as she made her way to her car, Kendra understood that the story was not just about her. It was about everyone in that gym who would leave with a newfound perspective, a lesson etched into their minds about respect, courage, and the dangers of underestimating someone based on mere assumptions. Slowly, the gym began to empty that evening, but the event lingered in everyone's thoughts. Conversations rippled through the regulars. Some replayed the incident over and over, others questioned their own hesitation, and some wondered what they might have done differently. The confrontation had sparked something deeper than shock. It had forced each person to examine their assumptions and the silence that often follows injustice. Later that evening, Tara sat at the counter after her shift, still visibly shaken but undeniably inspired. As she scrolled through her phone, a video of Kendra's calm yet decisive actions had already begun circulating online. Comments poured in, admiration, disbelief, and even introspection. "She handled it like a pro," one comment read. "This is what strength looks like," said another. "Why did no one step in sooner?" mused a third. The incident, however, was not solely defined by what had transpired in the gym. It was also defined by what it revealed. All too often, people underestimate others due to arrogance, bias, or sheer ignorance. Kendra had shattered those illusions with precision and grace, becoming a symbol of quiet power. That night, as Kendra sat at home sipping tea with her loyal dog curled up at her feet, her phone buzzed incessantly with messages from gym members. Some thanked her, others praised her courage, and many asked for advice. Though she appreciated the sentiments, Kendra did not see herself as a hero. In her view, the spotlight was not what mattered. It was the act of standing firm in the face of even the smallest injustice, whether on a gym floor or in any other arena. The following week, when Kendra returned to the gym, she did so as unassumingly as ever, yet there was a noticeable change. People greeted her with respectful smiles and nods, their eyes conveying silent gratitude and admiration. Tara, now emboldened, approached her shyly, holding out a small card. "I just wanted to say thank you," Tara said softly. "You've inspired me." Later, at home, Kendra opened the card. Inside was a simple message. "You reminded me that strength comes in many forms. Thank you for showing me what it means to truly stand tall." Kendra understood then that it wasn't just Tara who had learned something that day. Everyone who had witnessed the confrontation or even heard about it had walked away with an important lesson. Respect, as she had demonstrated, is not something that is given lightly. Strength isn't measured by size or loud bravado. It is defined by the resolve and courage to stand firm when the world expects you to crumble. In contrast, the man who had initiated the confrontation had disappeared from the gym entirely. Whether out of shame or fear, no one could say for sure. His actions, however, left an indelible mark, a stark reminder of the consequences when ignorance meets resilience. As Kendra reflected on everything that had transpired, one thought echoed clearly in her mind. Perhaps the world didn't need more heroes. Perhaps it needed more individuals willing to stand their ground and demand the respect they deserved. In that moment, Kendra's resolve deepened. She realized that the incident was not just a singular event. It was a catalyst for change, a demonstration that true strength and respect are earned through unwavering courage. If this story has moved you, Share it with someone who might need a reminder of the power of respect, strength, and courage. And remember, every time you face adversity, it is an opportunity to stand tall and assert your worth. In the days that followed, the impact of the incident grew. Conversations in the gym became more reflective, as members began to examine their own responses to conflict. Some admitted that they had hesitated, paralyzed by uncertainty, while others vowed to never allow someone to undermine them again. The gym itself, once a place of routine exercise and casual indifference, had transformed into a microcosm of empowerment and awareness. Even after the man had left, his legacy of aggression slowly dissipated into a cautionary tale that was recounted among the regulars. Stories of Kendra's decisive actions were shared in hushed tones, but with a sense of reverence and inspiration. Each retelling emphasized that her strength was not a product of brute force alone. It was the result of years of training, self-discipline, and an unwavering commitment to her principles. As the weeks turned into months, the ripple effects of that evening became even more evident. New members began frequenting Midtown Fitness Center, drawn by the culture of mutual respect and the unspoken promise that no one would be left to face intimidation alone. And every time someone mentioned that unforgettable night, it served as a reminder. Respect must be earned, and courage is often found in the quiet moments, when one refuses to back down. Kendra, now an unintentional role model, continued her daily workouts with the same precision and determination. Her presence was a quiet force, a beacon for anyone who had ever felt vulnerable or underestimated. In her own words, strength was not about a show of power, but about the resolve to remain composed in the face of injustice. And so the story of that fateful evening at Midtown Fitness Center became more than just an isolated incident. It evolved into a narrative about the power of inner strength, the importance of self-respect, and the enduring impact of standing up for what is right. As Kendra herself often reflected while sipping tea at home with her loyal dog by her side, the true measure of bravery was not in physical dominance, but in the ability to face adversity with grace and determination. In the end, the man's attempt to intimidate had backfired spectacularly. His aggression had not only been met with unwavering resilience, but had also sparked a transformative shift in the hearts and minds of everyone who witnessed it. Through that single act, Kendra had reminded all who were present that respect is not something to be demanded, it is something to be earned through consistent, measured, and courageous action. Let this be a lesson for us all. In a world where intimidation sometimes goes unchecked, there remains the possibility for change when one person stands up, calmly and resolutely, for what is right. As you go through life, may you find inspiration in Kendra's example, and may you remember that true strength is found in the quiet determination to assert your worth and uphold your dignity. Kendra's story serves as a powerful testament to the transformative impact of unwavering self-respect and courage. In that charged moment at the gym, her calm composure not only diffused an escalating situation, but also demonstrated that true strength lies in a combination of emotional resilience, thorough preparation, and a steadfast commitment to one's principles. Her experience reminds us that facing adversity with confidence and clarity allows us to reclaim our personal space and dignity, even when confronted with unexpected aggression. The lessons drawn from her actions extend far beyond the gym floor. They underscore the importance of cultivating emotional resilience, learning to process intense emotions and respond rather than react impulsively. Her background as a Navy SEAL highlights that both physical and mental preparation can empower us to confront challenges head-on, reinforcing that true power is nurtured over time through discipline and self-improvement. By asserting her boundaries and refusing to be demeaned, Kendra teaches us that assertiveness is an essential expression of self-respect. It is a quiet yet potent declaration that our worth is non-negotiable. Moreover, her singular act of courage created a ripple effect, inspiring those around her to re-examine their own responses to injustice and to foster a community grounded in accountability and mutual support. In doing so, she shattered outdated stereotypes and redefined strength as a multifaceted quality, one that includes empathy, integrity, and the willingness to stand firm even in the face of overwhelming odds. This narrative urges us to embrace uncertainty as an opportunity for growth, to transform adversity into a catalyst for positive change, and to understand that every small act of bravery contributes to a larger legacy of empowerment and social transformation. Ultimately, Kendra's resolute determination not only protected her dignity, but also ignited a spark in others, encouraging each of us to nurture our inner strength, assert our boundaries with compassion, and build a community where respect and courage are celebrated. Let her story be a continuous reminder that every moment of hardship holds the potential to propel us toward a future defined by integrity, resilience, and the unwavering belief in our own value. Thank you for reading this story. If it has moved you, share it with someone who might need to be reminded of the power of respect, strength, and unwavering courage. And always remember that sometimes the most powerful heroes are those who work quietly and consistently to change the world around them, one steadfast act at a time.